Welcome to a new episode of Truth Bombs and Bloopers. We're Christina and Krista, and today we're going to talk about veganism and how we became vegans and why we chose this kind of lifestyle. And maybe you, Christina, you want to share a bit about how long have you been vegan and what was the main reason for you turning vegan?
Yes. The trigger for me was when I was 14. So this means, it's a long time.
I was thinking, how old are you actually? I don't even know.
I will be 43. No,
Yeah.
40. Will I be 44 this year? Yes, I will be 44 this year. Crazy. 21. Yes. So my sister and myself, we watched a documentary about animal abuse and about the whole animal industry. And I was 14, she was 10 and a half, and we started an experiment, and we said, okay, let's stop the meat for, I don't know what we agreed on, maybe 3 months, and see how we go. And we immediately felt great and felt even better, and the whole digestion was much better for me, and I felt much more aligned. And ever since then, I was vegetarian. So still drinking milk, eating cheese, eggs, and all that. And then when I was 20 years old, when I moved to London to study dance, I always had a little acne kind of story, but not so severe like then it started when I moved to London. I guess also the pollution of the big city and sweating the whole day maybe made it even worse. And the trigger was really my skin. I wanted to heal my skin.
Yeah.
And I tried many things. Maybe people didn't even realize it, but it got really, really, really bad, to the point that I didn't want to leave my house on some days because it was really cystic and irritated, and it was all around the chin area. It was always, and you say around the chin area, it's hormonal imbalance. So I even took this really harsh medicine.
Rakutan.
Yes, and it healed, but then after a while it came back, and then I saw a Chinese doctor, and within 2 weeks everything healed.
Wow.
With me leaving out all the white stuff. So the milk, the white sugar, the white flour, everything, and yes. And so that was the point. So I was 20 years old when I started to become fully plant-based.
Wow.
And back then, I mean, London was already quite advanced in that sense. They already had a lot of alternatives and a lot of organic markets where you had a vegan section, and I read all the books, and it started to become my hobby, my research to find good recipes. And back then everything was based on soy, so soy milk, soy yogurt. But I realized it was really the milk, the cow milk, that made all the difference for me.
Yeah.
With my skin.
Yeah.
And then it didn't even take so long that it started to become my normal diet to just be plant-based. And so that's over 20 years. That's almost that's 23 years that I'm fully vegan now.
Wow.
I mean, there have been times when, let's say, I don't know, I was at a place and then they had a little milk in a soup or something, that I am not doing a big drama about that.
Yeah, because I think back then in restaurants it was really hard.
Yeah. And
yeah,
absolutely. And I remember when I started even to be vegetarian, I went, my father took my sister and myself to Hungary. I mean, that's like
the meat country.
Meat with meat.
Yeah.
And we sat in a restaurant and the two of us just became vegetarian, and we had to choose the sides, the side vegetables,
dishes,
the side dishes. And my father felt so embarrassed for us.
Oh,
and
really?
He had to excuse in every restaurant. He felt, I'm sorry, but they don't eat any of that.
Wow.
And it was like not an option at all. And now you find all the even raw food restaurants there and everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a change.
It always has been a big interest of mine, and to work with nutrition and how can I make a dish plant-based and how can I tweak it. And then of course I have a whole library of books.
Yeah.
And
do you use the books?
When I started, because then I also for a long time I really went into raw food kitchen and how you can create everything, and that's kind of like another section.
Yes,
that's a whole other way of cooking or uncooking.
Yeah.
But normally I buy books. I buy cookbooks to be inspired, to see the beautiful pictures, and then I do my own.
Yeah.
I could buy, like I love to go to bookstores and just flip through all the
I love it
books,
too.
and I could buy each of them, and then I never do a full recipe actually. Yeah, so that's kind of my story and how I healed my skin.
Wow.
And also more than I felt like my whole also the brain fog and emotional. I felt it so much emotionally that I just felt lighter and more positive. And once you dive into this whole subject and realize how much you can change by leaving out the animal products, then you can almost not go back. I mean, you cannot go back, I would say. Yeah,
I cannot imagine going back. It's like impossible.
Yeah, so long time, and
like very long time. And how did you manage that with your family? Because I think your girls, they're also eating vegan, right? Or not?
Yeah. So when they, of course, after breastfeeding, normally you switch to these formulas, the milk powder that you, and for both of my girls just didn't accept those.
Okay.
It was funny. And from a very, very young age, like I think when they were like 5 or even 4 months old, I don't remember, I started to make them green smoothies
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, in a bottle.
In a bottle. And we have pictures where, she's holding this huge green smoothie. And then they started to like, I tried everything, and what they both liked was rice milk, because it was almost as sweet as, I think rice milk is so sweet, and the mother's milk, breast milk is also very sweet. So maybe there was a resemblance. And it was funny because Melody, you always drank that one, and with Aurélie also, I didn't find any good milk that she would drink. And one day I observed her how she found Melody's glass bottle, and she just emptied the whole bottle, and it was clear what she likes. And then once solid foods, as long as they're babies, you can really influence them so much. You can,
of course.
They eat everything. They want to try everything. You can, I put everything in. But then once they start to be picky and choose their own food, I wanted to let them choose what they want to eat.
Yeah.
I never cooked meat for them or anything, but when they would eat outside or in the kindergarten or with the grandparents, if their body chose meat, then I let them do that, because I really wanted to make it their own decision.
Yeah, I love
which
that.
ended up that once they had the possibility to eat sausages, they would eat like 8 sausages. It was like, oh my God. It's the same with sugar. I really tried to keep the sugar in the first few years very low. So whenever we would be at a children's party or a birthday party, they just stuffed their face with the cake. And I felt a bit, always a bit, do I exaggerating something that they have to compensate? But then all of a sudden, once they started to realize that the sausage is actually made of an animal, and the same with a hot chocolate where it's with cow milk, all that, once they started to read the books and the infos, they immediately stopped.
Wow.
Of course, I was also modeling it for them,
yes,
but
course.
I never said don't do that or don't eat that.
It's just having the facts there that they know what they're actually eating or drinking.
Exactly, and it was their own it was their own choice, and that was very important for me, that I support them in whatever their body
needs. I love that. Beautiful. By the way, you're lightening it so well. It's so amazing. Just saying, whatever you have to.
Still the daylight. It's still the daylight.
It's already dark. Oh my God.
And the sky is actually pink right now.
So
maybe
lovely.
You see the reflection a little.
Yeah, you look beautiful, because I feel like it's like almost dark outside. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's all good. And we want to hear your story. How did you start? What was the trigger for you?
I did not know that you also started with 14, because I also became vegetarian with 14 years old. Okay. Yes, I did, just a bit later because I'm a bit younger than you are. But yeah, I was also 14 years. I think I know that I was already earlier tried to become vegetarian, but somehow it was like my parents were so against it, and I thought it was so stupid. Then I started eating meat again, but and then with 14 I realized, like I saw I read the Wendy, like this it's about horses.
Yeah, Wendy. Yeah.
Still with 14. Anyhow, there was an art or documentation in this magazine around animal, how do you say that? I don't even know the German word right now. Transportation. That's the word. Coming from A to B. And I saw this and I realized, you know what? I just cannot in any way be part of that. I don't want to be like, I could never do that to an animal. So I actually, when I buy or eat meat, I actually kind of support that system, right? So I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. So I became vegetarian when I was 14 years old. And I don't recall, any difference body-wise. Also because I was so not happy with my body that time, and I was so not connected to my body. And so I don't recall feeling better or worse or whatever. It just felt very natural. I never had an issue with becoming vegetarian. And later on, but back then it was also like, I grew up in a little village, right? And when you say I'm vegetarian, you say, oh, we have chicken,
Yeah.
We have chicken or we have fish, and you're like, oh my God, no. But yeah, I still ate fish, by the way. So I was not a real vegetarian. I still ate fish, but like once in a year.
That was the same for me. Yeah. I had a phase where I would exclude everything except for fish.
Yeah. And I was, my thing that I always had is like, if I could kill it, I can eat it. And I could kill a fish because I once did that. So I thought like, okay, I even could take, take them out, because my grandparents, my granddad, he always went fishing. But then at one point I was like also stopping with that, because it just felt unfair, because obviously they're also animals and beings. So I stopped that too with about 23 or so, because also it was not a big change. I almost never ate fish because I also didn't have the money. So I just couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then with 20, how old was I? In 2011, I think that was. When I all of a sudden had a belly, like from Christmas, I think it was 2010 to 2011, something like that. When I felt very bad in my belly, I just had so much belly ache, and I just felt so bad. And then I went to the doctor, and he was like, try to cut out dairy.
Yep.
And I wanted to become already vegan for a long time because I was like feeling it's just not good for me. Plus, I also felt like I just felt so guilty because I realized that actually the milk industry and egg industry is even worse than the meat industry. And I tried before, and then everybody.
That's actually, sorry to stop you,
no,
to
no
interrupt
problem.
you, but that's actually something that isn't so known yet.
No.
I mean, it's coming, it's slowly coming out, but that even, the dairy industry is so terrible, even worse.
It's the worst. It's just the worst. And I just shortly before this, maybe it was influenced also, like that I had this belly ache, because I realized that, and then but I didn't do it because I didn't want to be the complicated one. I already was always a complicated with the whole vegetarian, and I knew, then you get to people, invite, and you always have to say I'm vegan, and I didn't want to be that person. I already stopped eating like dairy at home, I think half a year earlier, but I still ate it, when I went out or with friends or whatever. And then, I just, because of the doctor said, like, just stop it and look what's happening. And I was just fine. Like my belly ache went away. And then, I was clear I was just intolerant to lactose. I really became intolerant to lactose. And it was just so much easier to tell people, oh, I can't drink milk.
It was much more accepted.
Much more accepted. And I use that constantly at one point, and I'm not going to use that anymore. I'm just going to say I'm vegan because I choose to be vegan, point. And I don't have to explain myself anymore. And it was the best decision ever. I really feel in tune with what I eat.
Yep.
And also there, I cannot say that I went so much because I always had difficult skin since I'm a teenage, actually in my 20s it started. I have this adult acne, and it didn't get better through cutting out the milk. But again, it was for me not about like a body thing. It was really about first lactose, but us actually just wanting to be a vegan because of the animals. So
but for me it was also absolutely the milk was the game changer. That's where I really felt the big difference, even more than the meat, I would say.
Dairy is like, it's just, I just put it out there, it's just unhealthy.
It creates so much mucus in the system, and it's just not normal to eat to drink excuse me, the milk from another animal. No other animal does that. No other animal.
That's so true. And I mean, cow's milk is designed to make from calves, like letting calves grow into cows. And why should we drink that stuff? I mean, we also don't drink mother's milk anymore. Like it's just strange. Like
we should do that, because we would realize how much effort goes into this poor little cow. What I often tell this story to people, which I feel so touching. To be able to create milk, to produce milk, you have to keep the cow pregnant all the time. And then you take away the little babies, and we all know every animal has emotions, just as we do, and every mother is so connected to her little baby and wants to nourish it. So a very cute little story, or sad, that an animal, how do you say, an animal doctor, a vet, wrote in an article. There was this farmer who had always, when he wanted to milk his cow, she was empty, and they didn't find out why. And for like 1 week they filmed her, and then they saw how she hid one of her little babies at somewhere at far away near a forest, because she knew they would take it away.
Take it away.
And every evening or morning, I don't know, she walked there.
That's crazy.
And
fed her little
one, and then she came back. And I mean, that just shows,
it shows everything,
how nothing is different between us humans. And imagine they would take away your babies as soon as they are born and slaughter them, and then take your breast milk.
Yeah, it's
then drink it.
Talk about it. No, the thing is this, like with this whole, I mean, like there are many angry vegans out there, and I think this is also why well, I'm in a household now because I'm a stepmom, so I did not grow up with my stepkids. And when I also met my husband, he was still eating meat, but he became immediately vegetarian because his son back then wanted to become vegetarian. So it was really exactly the same time, and he also was like, oh, and my loved one is also vegan, so I'm cutting out the meat. And then his son started eating meat again, but he stayed vegetarian for a long time. And he only became vegan actually last year, and I really tried never to push or and he became actually vegan because of Joaquin Phoenix, who won the Oscars, and at this Oscar speech, and then after that he decided to become vegan. It took him, bless his heart, for my husband to become vegan. And one of my stepchildren is still eating meat, but we don't cook it here. We buy it for her bread and whatever. But it was so hard for me to buy meat, buy meat and dairy. Also for the kids, because I felt like this is like, it's just good for you. It's so hard.
Almost like you are betraying yourself.
It's like the animals,
or the
so
animals.
Bad. I really felt so torn apart because of one hand I didn't want to be the annoying stepmom. And also, of course, I'm not the parent, so it's not me who says what they're eating or not. And by the way, my stepson is now vegan too, most like 90% of the time, only over like Christmas or so he chooses to be, but like he became vegan now. It's amazing, like because he wanted to, also because dad now of course is, and so he wanted to be the same that dad is. And their mom is also vegetarian now, which is amazing. But it was so hard for me to find this, just letting go of this and just accepting. And I'm really not I'm not a loud vegan. I don't barely, as many people probably don't, I don't know if they all know, but because I don't talk about it unless we're really good friends and we get invited. So I tell, hey, I'm vegan. But sometimes it's hard, especially when I see people just so mindlessly eating meat or drink. It's such a challenge for me. How do you see that? Is this a challenge for you too, or is this like easy peasy?
For me it was, first of all, I felt like, because I started from such an early age, I always felt like a little bit the one, they all joked about me. You're always the one with the crazy special. And this I had exactly the same. I didn't want it to be excluded or to be extra complicated. I wanted to blend in. So sometimes I even ate something that was not in alignment with myself, just because I wanted to be part of it. But then I started to also, when I met my now husband, back then he was still eating meat, and his whole family was very, very much into meat and all that. And I just tried to be a role model. I tried to talk about it, but not,
not preach it, not say it's bad or anything. I
and
get
his
that.
process was slow, but we're now there, that he's also at the same, we're eating actually everything. Sometimes he still consumes a coffee with milk or a cream in it, which for me doesn't work at all. I mean, you're really supporting the industry with every little drop of milk. And I'm, I just always tell people you're voting for the milk industry, and
your money supports them.
In the end, for me, it's about you're supporting the violence on this planet. So for me, it's kind of like, I'm not someone who, I think I'm a quiet leader. I'm not someone who goes out there, who is following? No, I'm not that leader. I'm more like, if you are interested in,
come to me. Yeah, I'll talk with you about it.
And then I tell you everything.
Yeah, I love that. I'm the same with that also, because I see it doesn't work the other way around. If you start guilting or shaming people, the opposite happens. And I mean, like, also my stepchild that is still eating meat, they are also always saying things like, yeah, how a vegan is, the first thing they tell you is, oh, I'm Priska and I'm vegan, or just like that is what most vegans do. And of course I don't want to be that, because I don't define over veganism.
No, you don't say I'm a meat eater.
No, it's just who I am, or just what I do. Actually, it's not who I am. I'm just what I do, what I choose to do, or choose to vote with my money. And so I really don't want to influence them in any way. Also my friends that are eating meat, and they just know. And the funny thing is, the more I'm just being myself eating, then all of a sudden they try things out and they write, hey, by the way, they have now this and this meatless thing in this Swiss shop, and I tried it, and it's actually good, and this makes me so happy to see that they're just because they know I am eating like that. And they also always make jokes always, like but still it makes a difference. I can see that it just makes a difference by you just making that choice over and over again, and living the life like that.
Because for me it's, I always have these images in my head whenever I pass the meat section in a store. I see the moment when the animal gets killed. I see it.
I see that too.
I see it. And it's, for me, it's terrible. I cannot even touch, like, it doesn't work. And I feel like now it's so much easier for people to change, to switch. Back then, I mean, for me, it was always, even as a child, I loved vegetables, I loved fruit, I loved healthy eating. It was never hard for me. Even if you ask me, do you want an apple or do you want chocolate, I would take the apple.
Wow.
So I need chocolate every day, but I love fruits, and it's so amazing for me. And for me, all these substitutes that you can get now, fake meat and fake sausages,
you don't even eat them.
I don't, of course, for a barbecue in summer, it's nice to kind of mingle with people, but I don't cook that for myself, because I want the freshest, the most raw and
pure
food that is possible, because that's how your cells are made of. And all this violence, the pain, the suffering, this energy that happens in the moment of the slaughter is in that meat that you are eating.
100%.
And your cells are made of that.
That's so true. And I'm aware that not vegan eating is not just equaling cruelty-free eating, because of course, depending on what kind of stuff that you're eating, like you can eat super unhealthy vegan. It's totally possible.
I mean, if you only eat pasta the whole day,
yes,
it's not healthy as well.
Absolutely. And also, I mean, like that's another story. I'm also gluten-free now, 19% of the time, and also mostly soy-free. But that's a different story. But I mean, like, there's also much more, because how is the food being produced? Where do you buy? Do you buy your veggies? All these things. Also, where do you buy your chocolate? Is it what kind? Where is it produced? But it's really hard. I think for me it's really challenging to really be always of integrity because sometimes you also don't know, and maybe you also don't want to totally know exactly, where everything is coming from. But I stick to this, like vegan for me is like just the number one rule, and I just try then to everything else to do it as best as I can. To buy if possible locally, locally sourced vegetables, and just as you say, not too much process, like almost no process.
Yeah, and I think that's for me, this is almost like the key to all this complicated, because if you are eating pure and whole food, it's not complicated at all. You
That's
go to
true.
the farmers market,
Yeah.
you support the local farmers.
Yes.
There you have the seasonal vegetables, which your system anyway needs to digest best.
Yeah.
And then everything you can make by yourself.
That's so true. Yes. I really love that. I love doing that. And also I love simple foods, like just as simple as it can be, like some hummus, some like potatoes, a salad, and I'm so happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hummus also self-made. You just, like soaking your own chickpea. There's something about it. And I'm really not a cook. That's the thing. I don't like to cook, actually. But there's something about really connecting with the food that you're eating and preparing it that just makes me still feel, I don't know, like I'm doing something good for my body.
Yeah, and I mean, we are nature, and we often forget that we are nature, and we think it's something outside. But isn't it just the best feeling when you pick a fruit from the tree and then you eat it straight from, and it's just a different taste and energy
100%.
when it's lying around in the supermarket. And I mean, it's a process, but the more you connect with that, the more you connect with nature, and you realize that every cell of you is fed by what you put in. The easier it gets, because you are starting to eat intuitively. What you start to really listen what your body needs. You start to listen to the cycles of nature, to the seasons, and there's a true beauty in that, to
100%,
to look forward to the autumn apples and the nuts, or
the pumpkins.
Already now I'm so looking forward to everything that's gonna come back in summer. And for me, it's just such a beautiful feeling to go to the farmers market every week and then connect with the farmers and ask, is this from your farm? And they give me all the information, and it's just, I know where it comes from.
I wish we had like at the moment any farmer market is anyhow closed because of Corona. Nothing is open. But like I would like to have a biological farmers, but I still have to look for that here to find that, because I'm also like, because you have 2 teenagers in the house now, you have to buy so much stuff. And they are not into veggies like we are, let's say it like that. It's like, I still have to find it's really difficult sometimes to kind of manage for everybody, because we cook literally 2 different meals. One for the kid, one for our kids, one for us. Most of the time this evening, because it's pasta evening, so they will have pasta. I will like their pasta, I have my pasta, and then we make the same sauce and some salad with it. So that's an easy one. But most of the time they're eating like differently than we do.
Okay.
And I found my peace with it. Sometimes I feel like, you should have more, I think this is the more the stepmom talk. Then it's just sometimes difficult if you're not one of the parents. You can influence people, but you cannot tell them what to do, especially when they're at that age, And I'm good with it, because I just wish that they would maybe make some healthier choices. But I also understand, I mean, like also I don't remember what I ate when I was a teenager, but certainly also not very healthy, because I didn't eat meat, but I still ate, what my parents cooked. And it was like this typical Swiss, kitchen.
Yeah. And also when it's harder if they, you came into the family when they were already almost teenagers, and to switch the diet, then it's very
difficult.
It's very difficult. So you can maybe sneak in something. But a good way I always find is to make smoothies where you can put a lot of stuff in and it tastes delicious. Or with soups, you can do the same.
Yeah.
And sneak in stuff.
They love raw stuff. Like we just put everything there raw. Like
exactly. That's the key. That's everywhere, and I think with every child they just prefer the raw vegetables, which is much more, right? which is much more healthy, because
it's better. Exactly. Yes.
And
also fruit, they adore fruit. So that I'm very, and sometimes because I make and you do too, celery juice every morning. So sometimes I hear one of the children sneak into the kitchen and I hear a knack, like breaking one of the stalks out of it, and
yes.
So this always makes me happy. So I see it, there's change. And of course, it really makes a difference if the biological parent, like in this case, my husband, is also making healthy choices. It just influences extremely much the kids, I think. Really, as a parent, you have so much influence on how they eat and what they eat.
Absolutely. And it influences their health, their mental, I think also their mental ability in school, how, because and emotionally the food influences you on all levels. And
100%.
I feel you can change so much.
Like, in 2017, this was when my now husband, they thought that his cancer was back. He had stage 4 cancer in 2010. And had like 18 chemos and stem cell transplantation. It was really bad, but he made it, obviously, luckily. But then they thought, because they found a tumor in his head and he was in very, very much pain, so they thought, oh, the cancer is back. Luckily, it was not. Praise the Lord. Thank you so much. And the tumor is benign. But this is when I got into, like, I was looking into stuff, what can we do to even eat healthier? And this is when I found this Anthony William guy online, aka the medical meme. And this is when I got into his stuff. He says, nobody can control it, but he says he's in contact with spirit who tells him, how to heal. But I'm unstable again. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you, but your
connection
is
not good anymore again.
No. Your image is standing still or blurry.
Frozen. Okay.
I don't know if
I just keep talking, right? If you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
So like so many people all around the world, like thousands of people, heal from all kinds of stuff just by following his protocols. And it's actually just with food. It's just cutting out food and eating more fruits and vegetables and it's like it's just amazing. It's just amazing what you can do. It's so that I also feel a difference by now eating, for example, also cutting out most of soy, almost no gluten. I'm not super strict with everything, but I just see the difference, and I just see how other people heal from, like, really being in bed or like having chronic illnesses like MS or
it's amazing.
Really, like it's crazy just with food. And there you just see how much power lies in the food choices you're making.
Absolutely. So again, it's Anthony Williams, the medical medium, and we can link his page. He has also a lot of free content, a lot of free recipe books, and he's amazing. I think so too. Because also, the body is the last layer, or the last body from our 4 bodies that reacts to a change. So we often feel it energetically, and then emotionally, mentally, and then finally the body. So this means maybe you're suffering from something over such a long time, but you don't change anything. And until the body shows it so clearly with an infection or a eczema or an inflammation. And sometimes this stage is too late, so then that means if we want to return back to homeostasis, we need to start with the body again.
Yeah,
where we need to start with what we put into the body, because every cell is made of what we put into the body.
That's so true.
And
also,
so
sorry,
I realized that so many people think I put something into my mouth and it just flushes through and comes out again. But often there is no connection to the creation of the new cells, the new skin, the new everything, the nervous system, everything is nurtured by what we put in.
Yeah. What I also want to mention is I also think it's hard, like it's so important also how we eat. And, because if we always feel annoyed by what we eat, or we hate our food, or if we feel stressed, I think it also has because also in the medical medium world, I see very many people are like very crampy, you cannot do that. And if you ever, and I also want to say, I think this is also not healthy, because then it becomes this, you can never eat chocolate because it's not good for your nervous system. And it's so like, of course, if you're very sick, it can be beneficial to cut things out. But in the end, it's also about pleasure. And I think also know human design, following your sacral, and eating things that really make you happy also has a thing. So
absolutely,
I think so. I think it's a mix between like how you feel when you're eating it. Or do you feel eating with pleasure, because you believe it's actually really doing your body well, or are you just stuffing something in? And also, of course, what are you actually putting into your body?
Yeah, it can also become very obsessive and obsessive, and you also sometimes you want to you almost get addicted to a certain state, that how you feel after a certain food, or that's also why, for instance, many people cannot let go of coffee, because they have this instant rush, or the digestion is turned on, and they kind of hold on to this not so, maybe for them, for their body type, maybe it's not so healthy. For others, they can tolerate it, whatever. But there's a lot of also
I think everybody's different.
Yeah, and I think
100%.
And I think if you start to like with everything, if you start to listen to your own truth, and you really you ask your body, what is it that you're craving today, and you start to eat intuitively, it will tell you.
Yes, now it makes total sense. And I again, I just wanted to say about this is a different topic, because there's of course also, like, you can also have an eating. I had an eating disorder for many years, and I was very skinny, and it can also become an eating disorder to only want to eat super healthy food, and absolutely. Like it has to, like, it's like their religion. And I think everything that becomes like this, like this or nothing, or like you can never, and it's so restricted, I think this is just not a healthy way of relating to food. It should always be pleasurable. It should always be
sensual,
fun, playful, and
and
sensual.
Really,
yes, I think that I really believe that.
Absolutely.
If you guys how you guys are eating, and no judgment if you're eating meat and I'm unstable again.
Now you're good. You were just before, but I think I got the message.
Jesus. Just how are you, like, eating? What would you like to eat? Would you like to change something? What are you struggling with? What do you wish for yourself? Let us know. And also, if we can support you in some ways, for example, inviting other people, talking about food, or whatever, we just cut a little piece off.
And I think it always starts with a tiny little drop. Maybe you start with, okay, now I'm only gonna eat animal products in the evening, or only like twice a week, and then you cut down to once a week. And it doesn't have to be from today till tomorrow. You give yourself the time. It's a process. I mean, I'm in this process for almost my whole life, and the body changes constantly. And I also feel like it's become more popular because also our whole society changes, and the values of today are different, and the vibration of the planet is different.
Yes.
And
the
it
awareness.
starts, exactly, the awareness, which violent free living and being more in tune with nature is matching the vibration of the planet more and more. And we already felt in tune in that vibration from a very early age. And it's beautiful to see how more and more people are hopping onto the train, and we're not the aliens anymore.
So
it's become almost the norm, and that's only because some people started the movement. That's only because once there were some people who were walking against the mainstream and did their own thing, and did their own, as for instance Anthony Williams, who just followed the voice in his head and just listened to what this higher guidance told him to eat.
Exactly. Yeah, so true. Hallelujah and amen to that, sister.
Yeah.
And
just as a fine, I mean, it's so many delicious things you can cook. You don't really need the suffering of the animal. You don't need it. And we can share in another episode, we can maybe share some easy things, recipes.
Yeah, I love your food. I want to know stuff from you, because you, like, whenever I'm at your place, it's just vegan heaven. It's like
I also have to say,
so
I love to be a cook. It's in my
feel that
my being. I just love everything where I can be creative, and the kitchen is one place to be creative.
I'm growing into it slowly, because I really didn't cook for years. Actually, till I had a family, I never cooked. I just lived from that's what I mean. You can also eat unhealthy, and obviously I had an eating disorder too. But like, I really lived from the fridge years. And like the biggest cooking I would do is like buying some frozen veggies and put them into the oven.
Oh, really? Yeah.
That was my kind of cooking,
Okay.
Otherwise I just ate a lot of fruit. It's not per se unhealthy, but it's certainly also, I never really took the time, and I still don't love it, but I also stopped hating it so much as I did, and now I sometimes even enjoy it.
I always see it as a little moment of creativity. I never plan. I open the fridge, I look what's there, I lay it out. Like, let's say I have a few vegetables, I lay it out. I think, okay, what with what could I combine it? And then I think, okay, let's mix this and this and this and it's almost like I'm creating a painting or a choreography. What can we do with this question?
I love it.
And that's how I, of course, I have to include the wishes of the whole family, and there's
not always easy.
But we mentioned it before, like that's something I have done since the children are eating solid food. The first thing that is on the table is a plate with raw vegetables, crudités. And then they're already filled with good stuff, and then comes the pasta or the bread or the things that are filling, but maybe don't have that much enzymes or vitamins in
nutrition.
It's more for the filling.
I mean, like, food is such an emotional, it's so deeply connected to our emotions, right? and also childhood, and that's why it's sometimes so difficult to cut out certain things, because we're connected to them and through our childhood and memories, and they make us feel good and feel safe.
Absolutely.
And it's also a healing process to change your eating habits, and just be gentle with yourself if you don't immediately can change how you want to change.
Yeah, absolutely. And just really look at food as your medicine, really. I mean, let it be something that this is gonna really nourish my cells and create the new me, or the how I eat today will create the tomorrow, how I will feel when I wake up.
Oh, that's beautifully said. And I have to cook now.
So let us know if you would like us to talk more about this subject, because we have a lot of stories to tell, and experiences, and recipes, and tools, maybe also kitchen tools that make things easier.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
So tell us more in the comments. And with that,
thank you so much for this conversation, Christina, and hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista. See you soon.
See you soon.
Enjoy
Bye-bye.
your food. Bye.
Bye. Okay. Let's start, honey bunny. I can do it.
Yes,
it's okay. I can do it. I can bless my open throat.
Okay. And how you can bless you.
I love. Are you still here?
You froze for a moment.
It just said the connection there.
Can you tell me you're frozen again? Hello?
Hallo.
Hallo.
Hallo. Bloop, bloop.
Bloop, bloop. Yes, now you're here. Okay. Aufzeichnung anhalten.